Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Sports Today. We know for a fact that this weekend is an important weekend in Formula One because there's, of course, it's going to be the end of the triple header that has been taking place since, of course, the summer break came to an end, and the triple header ends at Monza in Italy. Now, that's always a special, circuit for a variety of reasons. Not least the fact that, of course, it's a legacy track. It's been around for a while, and of course, it is home to, of course, Ferrari fans, the Tifosi, who always turn up in large numbers to support their team. And the Tifosi will be very happy with what it is that they witnessed on Saturday's qualifying because Charles Leclerc has, in fact, taken pole position for the Italian Grand Prix. You heard that right. Charles Leclerc has taken pole position for the Italian Grand Prix. In fact, it is the first pole position that he's gotten since the French Grand Prix. And you'd all remember how that one ended. Ended up going off the track, veering into the barricades, and that was it for his race. And many would argue even for, of course, his championship. Now, I would, in fact, normally what I would do for you guys is read out, the way the rest of the top 10 are going to stack up. But I'm going to be honest with you guys, I really don't know how exactly it is that the grid is going to look tomorrow. And the main reason for that is that, of course, there's so many drivers who have taken grid penalties, whether that be 5 positions, 10 positions, 15 positions, or even back of the grid penalties. In fact, I'll just quickly go over the, penalties and the drivers that are going to be taking these penalties. So you have Lewis Hamilton taking a back of the grid penalty. You have Max Verstappen, who finished second in qualifying, will be taking a 5-place penalty for a new internal combustion engine. Sergio Perez is taking a 10-place penalty. Carlos Sainz is taking a back of the grid penalty. Esteban Ocon takes a 5-grid penalty, whereas Valtteri Bottas will be taking a 15-place penalty. Other drivers will be taking a 15-place penalty, including both Haas drivers, that's Kevin Magnussen and Mick Schumacher. And Yuki Tsunoda of AlphaTauri will be taking a back of the grid penalty. Phew, that's 9 out of the 20 drivers who are going to be taking penalties. And you know what's even worse is the fact that of the top 5, besides Leclerc, Verstappen, Sainz, Perez, Hamilton are all going to be starting from different places that they finished qualifying in today. So you have, of course, Hamilton, who's in 5th, Perez is in 4th, Sainz is 3rd, Verstappen is 2nd, and all of these guys are, in fact, going to be starting from a variety of places because all of them have taken penalties of some form. So bit of an interesting qualifying session in that regard, because you knew that a lot of these drivers would be finishing in whatever position they finish. Well, you'd not actually be able to be seeing them start the grid, start on that grid position tomorrow. But nevertheless, I'd say it's a pretty solid qualifying session for certain teams. So the teams who it was a good qualifying session, of course, the top 4 positions are split between the Ferraris and the Red Bulls. 5th and 6th, as the Mercedes taking it, was again expected. Although what I didn't expect was that Russell would be finishing 6th. I thought he'd pushed a little harder, maybe because he would actually, in fact, have the best chance of a pole position in case one of the other drivers got it. What I will also say, in fact, is that Russell could potentially be starting the race from 2nd tomorrow because, again, all of the drivers in front of him have grid penalties. So he could be getting a front row start despite the fact that he's only in 6th. 7th and 8th are, of course, the McLarens. Now, that's an interesting one because only Fernando Alonso ended up making it into the top 10 from Alpine. So McLaren actually have a bit of a chance to strike back in that battle for 4th position, which we know has been raging on between the McLarens and the Alpines. Other drivers who made it, of course, Alonso is in 10th. Pierre Gasly, who you'd remember won the race here in 2020, sorry. He ended up finishing 9th position. Apologies for the error. That's why it happened 9-9. Then, of course, if you go over the second half of the grid, you be pretty used to a lot of these. Esteban Ocon just about missed out on a position in, of course, Q3. He had finished up 11th. Valtteri Bottas was the driver who finished in 12th. Although, again, I don't quite know where he's starting because he's taken a 15 position penalty in, of course, that, thanks to changing multiple parts of his power unit. Again, that's not much of a surprise given the fact that, you know for a fact that the Alfa Romeos have been struggling with reliability thanks, of course, to their own car and, of course, the engines that are supplied to them by Ferrari. 13th is a name that most people will, in fact, be surprised at, and that's, of course, Nick De Vries. Now, Nick De Vries is starting this is his Grand Prix weekend debut, and the only reason he's making it is because he was the test driver, he is the reserve driver for Williams and other teams including Mercedes. So what happened was that Williams driver Alex Albon was ruled out due to appendicitis surgery, and that's why De Vries was called up as his replacement. Didn't do too badly for himself, 13th in his first qualifying session, ended up finishing ahead of his teammate Nicholas Latifi, who's of course in 16th. 14th and 15th goes to Guan Yu Zhou, Yuki Tsunoda. 17th and 18th, Vettel, Stroll. Magnussen and Mick Schumacher didn't really bother, doing too much effort because, again, both of them have 15 place grid penalties, so they're going to be starting the race pretty much from behind anyway. Now, as far as, teams who would be happy with quali, again, McLaren definitely would be one of them. They did expect both their cars to be up there in the top 10, so the fact that both of them could make it is good. Daniel Ricciardo will be very pleased with how his qualifying went because recently he'd been qualifying horribly. And we know for a fact that his time at McLaren is coming to an end. But 2021 was the scene for his last victory in F1. Last year, remember when McLaren took an 1-2 finish. Can McLaren get something similar this time? Probably not a 1-2, but I think they're in for a solid points finish, and Alpine will be up against it given Alonso is in 10th and Ocon is in, of course, 11th. So, of course, yeah, there is a lot of speculation that you'd still see a Red Bull win, and I am inclined to agree because their straight line speed is very, very good, and straight line speed is very, very important in terms of the track configurations. In fact, your car configuration in Monza, because Monza is one of those places you don't need much downforce. You can focus on just going flat out. Now, I'll just take a few of you guys' comments because I'm seeing quite a few come this way. Harkirat Singh says it doesn't matter where Ferrari finishes because they're going to mess up their strategy tomorrow anyway. I mean, hard to argue with that one, but hopefully they can give their Tifosi something to smile about. Let's see, though, whether or not that happens. Harsh Khatri says, Shane, who do you support? Verstappen is going to walk away with the championship. To answer your question, I'm a bit of an old head when it comes to these, so I'm a Hamilton fan. But I do agree with your assertion that Verstappen is going to be walking away with the championship this year. Harkirat says Verstappen will be winning unless Ferrari is smart with their strategy. Wholeheartedly agree. Whether or not they can be smart with their strategy considering how they've done throughout this year, I hope they've turned the corner, but let's see. Love Rami says supporting Max all the way for the remaining rounds. Very hard to overcome his points advantage and of course him. I agree with that, because I think at this point it's not an unassailable lead, but given the kind of form the Red Bulls have been in, the form he's been in, and the form that Ferrari have in fact been in, I'm expecting him to actually be front runner for this race tomorrow. Rajat Agni03 says next season of Drive to Survive is going to be extremely boring. No, I'd wholeheartedly disagree. There might not be that much going on in front of the cameras, but behind the cameras, I mean, I'd love to see what it is that Leclerc really feels about Ferrari bungling so many strategies. I'd love to know what Hamilton and Russell have to say about Mercedes giving them a car that's only third best. Plenty of things which I think will make Drive to Survive interesting. Plus, if nothing else, Netflix will end up manufacturing a rivalry anyway, so that show's always going to be fun. Love Rami has jokes and says that Ferrari will again come up tomorrow with tire games, soft, medium, hard, then out. I mean, who knows? They've done that before, but I think if they do that, then the reaction from the Tifosi at Monza is going to be very, very interesting. So, obviously, interesting qualifying session, but I can't give you any updates on what the grid is going to be like because, honest to God, I have no clue how exactly it's going to shape up. They do, like, I remember even last time in Belgium, there were grid penalties there, and then when the final grid came about, I was like, wait, this makes no sense based on the kind of penalties that were given. So, I don't quite understand the process. We'll only know the final grid for the race tomorrow. I'm very excited about that because Monza is one of my favorite tracks, very speedy, good for overtaking, and it's just generally one of those old tracks which has a nice environment to it, especially considering the fact that the Ferrari fans are always there in full force. So do join me for tomorrow's race coverage. I'll be live with you guys after the race. Join me for that. For now, I'm taking your leave, but thank you so much for joining all of us. If you enjoy what it is that we do, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, drop us a comment, and of course tap the bell icon so you know when it is we're going live or uploading a new video for you guys. Don't also forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And last but not least, download the AajTak app. You'll get all the latest breaking news updates, not just from the world of Formula 1, but the world of sports in general. Thank you all once again for joining us, and I hope to see you all again soon. But bye-bye for now.